Tonight we're going to talk about tablets and are they taking over. And we have some good speakers. I couldn't help to not bring one of the first portable PC devices that I had. This is an iPad. But in order for this thing to connect, in order for you to connect this iPad to the network, you had to have this Intel wireless card. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. It would drain the battery in 10 minutes.
And it would kill the battery. There you go. I would pass this out, but I'm afraid somebody might put it on eBay. Yes. Then there's an HP iPad. This was a touchscreen, too, but you had to have a special pin. So, anybody know how old this thing is? Huh? It's pretty close to about 8 years old. Okay, and you're right about the battery. Battery's dead. No, so I would show this one, but this is actually the first dual mode device that had both Wi-Fi and cellular, ever. And we'll talk about that later. I can show it to you and you can come and talk about it. This is actually 6 years old. So for those people that know about what we do with dual modes. So we have an interesting discussion tonight about tablets, and one of our keynote speakers for tonight, who's going to give us an introduction, is Dr. Phil Hendrix. And I have to apologize because I always refer to him as Dr. Phil. But I thought that would be a good topic for tonight about tablets, because I have an iPad and I can't get it back from my wife. So I have to go to Dr. Phil and say, how do I get this back? So you'll hear about that tonight and how important it is. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Phil Hendrix, who is formerly a Emory University professor, and now you'll see he's going to take us through the Institute of Mobile Markets Research. And Dr. Phil Hendrix has worked in location-based services as well as mobile commerce, and you're going to see tonight projections about where this tablet market is going. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Phil Hendrix.
Let me just get a quick show of hands. How many of you have a tablet in this audience? All right, interesting. Do you know what the penetration is in the general population? Between 5 and 7%, depending on, again, the analyst and metrics and samples they're using. So what I'd like to do tonight is share with you some findings from research we've just done. This is the second wave in work we've done on tablets per se, but Bob's examples reminded me that just 2 years ago we were doing research in this category and we were calling them mobile internet devices, or MIDs. So I guess we've been doing work in this category for a number of years, but most recently legitimately calling them tablets and really focusing in detail. I'm sure you've all read and perhaps had direct experience, and the consensus is this is likely to be one of the most rapidly growing consumer electronics categories in history. So it's a very, very exciting time. As we all know, it's very difficult when you're in the midst of something that's happening and unfolding as rapidly as we're seeing with tablets. At what price would tablets begin to get so expensive that you wouldn't consider? And then what's the maximum price beyond which you would never pay? And that result is interesting because as we think about it, most of the tablets today, including, as I responded to on a post just the other day, someone observed, gee, Dr. Hendrix, your observation's interesting. On the other hand, the results to date from Apple would prove you wrong because most of their devices are $500 and above. Let's keep in mind that what we've seen to date are the early adopters, and this survey is drawn from a random sample national population, nationally representative population. So we're asking the full range of prospects, not merely early adopters, how much would you expect to pay? And as we can see, the median number from this survey was $500. The mean was $525. So that suggests that, again, the premium price tablets we've seen today really are at the high end of the market, and I can share with you some results in just a moment that suggest there's significant opportunity down market as well beneath this price. The second question in the series is at what price would you definitely buy a tablet? And here we begin to see the sweet spot emerging between $350 with a mean at $350 and the median at $320. What's interesting, and again perhaps not surprising, since by and large the three at the bottom, other than Nokia, Intel with MeeGo, really haven't been out in the marketplace talking about, much less do they have anything on the market. So I'll let the panelists speak to that. So the point is not to suggest that the three at the bottom are lagging so much as it is to acknowledge Apple has a very, very significant lead based not only on familiarity and awareness, but also preference, as we see here. Now, as we have looked more closely at what drives customer choice, we used a tool called Choice Modeling, in which we presented consumers with a wide range of tablets and manipulated those in ways that allowed us to calibrate statistically what's likely to drive their choice. I can tell you that brand and operating system and app stores are very, very important, certainly among the top three, but there are other features and characteristics as well that will drive choice. But let me ask the panelists to come up and introduce themselves, and then we'll open it up for discussion. I have a few questions that I'd like to start with, but we'll then open it up for the audience. So, guys, come on up. We have a distinguished group of panelists, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Micah, I'll let you start.
My name is Mike Lupo. I'm the Senior Director for Digital Products at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which roughly equates to the General Manager of our digital businesses. Since roughly middle of last year, I have been leading the project team that is creating our business strategy for and the product itself in cooperation with Cox Media Group Digital, which is our corporate digital partner for all the Cox newspapers, radio stations, and television stations, and Mercury Intermedia, who is the vendor who was actually doing all the code and developed the app itself. Mercury may be familiar to some of you. It is the organization that USA Today also hired for their app. Our app came out December 20th, and it's still in beta because we've gotten a lot of really good feedback from customers about what it needs to be a saleable item, and we're kicking the tires on some of the feature upgrades that I hope will allow us to sell it in the not too distant future. We also have an app out there that is an iPhone app, AJC Digest. The name is meant to give you this, to be clear about the fact that AJC Digest is a sliver of what would be full Atlanta Journal-Constitution content. And that's an iPhone app that you would use on a tablet, on an iPad, and you can, obviously hit the 2X button. But, and that one is intended to remain free. So.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Karen?
Karen Truitt. I'm from Intel. I focus on our mobility devices, focusing on the mobility customers for those mobility devices. I guess the thing that I should say is that we are looking to expand into the tablet, smartphone category. So most people know Intel by our little bum 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 sound and the fact that we're inside computers. But we're really expanding into many other areas, such as tablets, inside cars, things like that. So we are looking at where consumers and enterprise users are going, trying to stay ahead of the puck, and trying to basically help create an ecosystem and better experiences for those customers.
Very good. Thank you, Karen.
Good evening, Jim Dudenhoefer with Hewlett-Packard. I'm with the Palm Global Business Unit, which used to be the prior Palm Incorporated, and I'm on their business development team, so I work with large enterprises on how to deploy against the webOS platform.
Great, thank you very much. Chuck?
Chuck Rainbow, Research in Motion. I've been with RIM for about 10 years, the regional technical manager. Interact with Fortune 1000 for the most part. So we're getting ready to, as most of you have probably read, get ready to release a tablet. Don't have an official date yet, but it's getting close. Can't wait to see it and actually show it to you folks also.
Very good. Let me lead off with a question that I have. This is a white-hot market. There's no question about it. But I'm curious, again, particularly for those of you who have been in the category for some time, why now? Why at this point in time? Why are tablets taking off? What has come together, and what should we be watching over the next 6 to 12 months to see whether this market will continue to grow at the rate that we've seen over the last 18 months or so? Who wants to start with that one?
I'll start. So the first one I have is Apple. Because I truly believe, and they did it with the iPhone, I mean, they are a game-changing company. They have created products that are simple to use, that work well, and users love them, right? So I think what has changed, there have been other times in history that we and others have tried to figure out how to get tablets out into the hands of users that they like them. I think probably the biggest thing that has changed beyond usability is the App Store. We've never ever had apps.
We've come to a point where these are now feasible. We are also reaching an inflection point where laptops are, don't want to use the word passé, but they are getting more and more difficult to travel with. And the mobile experience that has been unleashed with other devices. I can remember getting my first BlackBerry 950 and just, wow, email comes to me. I don't have to do anything. People have now become acclimated, and that's what they want, is something that's portable.
Interesting observation, too, is the extent to which tablets will change the interaction and experience between users and these devices as well. So you're seeing more of them again in kitchens, on coffee tables, just sitting there, whereas laptops typically are stored away and pulled out. Okay? Any other observations on why now?
Yeah, I would just add that, I think tablets are really nothing more than another endpoint, right? Just like PCs are, just like the browser is, just like the smartphone that everyone has in their pocket. It's really about how do I access my data, and where is my data residing, right? And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, most of our data, even today, most of our data actually resides locally. And as we continue to move it up into the cloud, the desire around how do I gain access to that at any point in time in kind of an instant format is really helping drive that tablets, right? We can do that today on a smartphone, but that experience is very different than it would be on a PC.
The gorilla is not in the room tonight, but clearly, as Karen pointed out, Apple has both legitimized but in some ways defined this market. But I'm curious, as the panelists think about the opportunity and their own company strategies, where would you say Apple is vulnerable? Where are they not dominant? Where are the opportunities that remain for other companies who are following in Apple's wake, either for your own company or others in the industry?
So, I mean, I do think that they've set the baseline, right? Everybody else at this point is trying to figure out how to catch up to them. And I think that what you're seeing is this influx of Android tablets coming out as your first kind of next wave of trying to catch up. We have yet to see, the Zoom tablet actually is the first one with the true, what they call the honeycomb OS, which is the first OS by Google designed specifically for a tablet. There should be others coming after that. I think it's yet to be seen if users will gravitate towards those, or if they will go, I see this, and I see the iPad, and I still like the iPad better. So the one place that you do have Apple vulnerable is the fact that they do not have Flash.
Probably the biggest one is security. Had 10 years with RIM. We had our first successful crack. I think the stats I've heard with Apple, there is a crack about every 4 hours of some sort.
So in addition to security and user experience, the App Store and the ecosystem, anything else that either of you would add to that?
Well, I wouldn't assume a vulnerability of a competitor, particularly one that's got a value cap almost that of ExxonMobil. But I would turn that question around and say that what they've really done is created an enormous opportunity, right? I mean, this buzzword of the consumerization of the enterprise is now a reality, right? And any IT person out here today can tell you that, you know, there's an executive every day that's coming in and saying, make this work in my network, right? And so this tablet market being driven by this content being so accessible and those different data streams in the cloud is really bringing an enormous opportunity for all parties, right? And I said this to the RIM guys when I walked in. I said, hey, the great thing about this market is all boats are going to rise. I mean, you know, we haven't hit that inflection point. And so I think Apple's done an incredible job. I think they're a very consumer electronics focused company. And I think that this market, as it grows, will be much broader than just that.
Those who are willing to be tied down to a single brand tend to be, at this point, they tend to be older, obviously, but they also tend to be somewhat more moneyed and you know, affluent. I mean, in some ways, the situation that existed before the rise of the penny press in the 1890s has revisited. The folks who want to subscribe and pay for content are a narrower slice of the intelligentsia, and the broader audience that wants just some information are the free people on the internet.
So one last question, and that is, I believe I read just this week that a newspaper in Canada is giving away iPads to, is that correct? Anyone corroborate that? So I'm curious, do we have a Gillette model that on the horizon where AJC may be giving away mid-price, low-price tablets?
Okay. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. And